The opinions and views expressed by individuals during this podcast are their own. They may not be the opinions of this network, their groups, or other organizations they may be involved with.
Let's all go into pot, whether we like it or not. Best I can tell, the world's gone to hell, and we're sure gonna miss it a lot. All the whiskey in Lynchburg, Tennessee, just couldn't fill that spot. I got $100 bill, man, you can keep your pills, man. It's all going to pot. It's all going to pot, whether we like it or not. Best I can tell, the world's gone to hell, and we're sure gonna miss it a lot. All the whiskey in Lynchburg, Tennessee, just couldn't fill the spot. I got $100 bill, man, you can keep your pills, man. It's all going to pot. I got $100 bill, man, you can keep your pills, man. It's all going to pot.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Peace, News, and Views here on the NOK Network. We are patients everywhere advocating cannabis evolution with me, Kim Cooper, and my awesome joint host, Siir Steveo in the house. Oh, you're that way.
How is it going? How is it going? What's been exciting this week in your neck of the actual woods?
Of the actual woods. We've had an exciting fucking week in the woods, let me tell you. We had one of our wonderful four-legged furry family members, my dog Sunny, decided on a wood walk that he picked up the scent of a bear. That was in a den that was melting away and coming out into the open because we've got spring-like weather here. And he woke it up.
Oh.
Yeah, he woke the bear. You know, don't poke the bear. Well, my dog poked the bear. And it woke up the bear. Bear wasn't happy to be woken up. And it was a pretty traumatic situation. But I'm glad to say we all came out of it okay. The bear might be hurt because we had to defend ourselves. But the rest of us, the dog included, are okay.
Well, that's good. I think that there's a lesson here, though, that if you're going to go walking in the woods, you should probably be packing just in case.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, we really should. We don't generally, at this time of the year, it's not an issue.
Right, they're hibernating.
In the spring, in the summer, we go on our wood walks. We're packing bear spray. I mean, there are defensive mechanisms that we can use before we have to resort to a gun. The guns are always readily available should they be needed. But there are other measures that we can use. But it's fucking winter. Nobody carries bear spray in the winter.
And you know, the chances of you chasing the bear off with bear spray and making a direct hit with the way it sprays is way better than the chance of you popping them perfectly with a slug of some kind, even a shotgun. You know. So I instantly was thinking, oh my God, the dog. I'm sorry that the dog, got a little messed up or whatever, but he did his job and he protected you. And
well, he smelled the bear and he's like, "Mom's walking here. There's a bear here." Fuck no, and he was on it.
Right. He did his job, definitely. I mean, I'd be so proud of him. Was it Santini that?
No, it was my most senior dog, Sunny. He is my Staffordshire Terrier, so he's a pit bull. But he's almost 14 years old. He's over 13, and he took on a bear.
Wow, that's just nuts.
Yeah.
How scared were you? Did you run or what did you do?
Yeah,
you haul ass, right?
We had other people were there. So somebody picked up the dog. First, he wouldn't listen, and we finally got him out of the hole. And it was like, okay, grab the dog and start running. We have to go. We have to go now because now fuck Buddy's awake and he's coming out.
Yeah, especially on a nice day like that, right?
Yeah, we got to go. We got to go now. So yeah.
Amazing what happened.
Week, right? I'm going to make mention real quick. We took up a long time with my bear story, but I would like to make an official online announcement, and this is the first one coming out of my mouth. Stoner Games 2024 is our 4th annual event taking place in July this year. We have partnered and added on a new component. We are introducing a new component called the Stoner Games Cup. So there will be a cannabis cup that will be attached to the games, and all of that will be done through the mail, handled through somebody that's partnered with me from Southern Ontario. And we're going to present a cup event at the Stoner Games. The Stoner Games portion in this is we will be presenting the trophies on the Stoner Games Saturday for this cup event.
Awesome.
Yeah. So looking
Tell
forward
everybody,
to that. Yeah, looking forward to that. Enter into the Stoner Games Cup, brand new Cannabis Cup event here for Ontario. And tonight we've got a fucking cool dude in the house. It's actually right here in my small town that I live in, a fellow Northern Ontarian that is doing some stuff with regenerative soil.
Sure is, and it's exciting stuff as well. Joining us on Peace News and Views tonight is TyGuy GrowsHigh. Join me in welcoming him to the show. Welcome, Ty.
How's it going?
Hey.
Good. How are you? How are you? Welcome to Peace News and Views. I mean, it's so cool to have somebody that's doing something with organic soil that can be provided not only for cannabis growers, but gardening enthusiasts in all spaces, from food to flora to medicine. This regenerative soil, big item these days. Everybody's talking about organic gardening now, right?
Yeah, it's definitely something that everybody can do, and it just seems wild to me that you can just collect some stuff out of your backyard and just make plant nutrients out of it. And, you know, everybody's been taught to think that you got to go buy nutrients or nitrogen and powder and mix this stuff together to make stuff grow. But in reality, that's not really the way it works at all.
Yeah.
So the way it actually works is the organic matter is brought to the surface, falls back down, and then the microbiology breaks it back down into plant available nutrients once again. So that cycle continues.
Yeah, I'm going to get you to explain all of that in detail as we go along. To get us started, so we can all catch up and wrap our heads around what you're about to explain to us here with the chemistry and the biology of it all. I think we're all going to get a very good lesson in organic gardening tonight, so I'm excited for that. To knock us off and to get us started, tell us how you got started in this space. What drew you to organic gardening, and in particular using and finding a regenerative soil to use for cannabis?
Well, I've always been a long time smoker ever since I was young, and I just always cultivate. It just seemed like something, you know. I just every time I've seen an empty closet, it just seemed like something like, you know.
Well, we're losing your vocals. Hang on, something's going on. There we go. You're back.
Are we back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like every closet I'd ever seen growing up. It's just, you know, like you could grow some plants in there kind of deal. You know, it's just something that I'd always wanted to do, and every attempt I'd ever tried to make growing up, I never really had the money or the resources to do it properly. And then finally it became legal, you know, and I had kids, so it was kind of questionable before that to be doing that. You know, I'd always had a couple out in the bush here and there, but now I could actually start doing it at home. So once I decided this was something that I was going to do, I just kind of looked into what kind of light I was going to buy and what I was going to feed this thing. And there was information going around that you could grow really good cannabis with bat guano. And it just didn't make sense. why does that work? And it turns out it's the biology that's in the guano that are making the nutrients available for the plant. So it just sent me down this rabbit hole of organic nutrients and the whole microbes and the whole system. Just got hooked on it, and it's just been a never-ending lesson. It's just been a teacher. It's something that I've been interested in my whole life, and I never gave a shit about this in school. But if I would have known all of this, it probably would have resonated with me a hell of a lot more when I was learning all of this stuff. Because I don't remember learning any of this stuff. It's something I had to relearn now that it pertains to.
Yeah, and the teaching methods, right? I mean, if they would have put it to us in ways that made it interesting, like with gardening, then we may have absorbed that information a little bit more readily. I agree 100%. So, bat guano. I've been gardening and growing cannabis for 40 years, and bat guano and gypsum powder are two of the main ingredients that I have been using for 40 years in a tea that I make.
Yeah, definitely. Do you put molasses and as well?
Whole bunches of ingredients, but bat guano and gypsum powder are two of the main.
See, these are the old school tricks that have been lost, and it's, I don't know, I just find it so fascinating that you can do all this yourself for pennies on the dollar. Like, once I learned that in a cubic yard of compost, quality compost with microbes, there's enough nutrients in there to sustain an adult life for 1 year in vegetable production. So it's just amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I've been using these kinds of things on cannabis for 40 years, but they'll do wonders in any garden. So, I mean, in today's world, pretty much everybody's got a garden, everything from a balcony box to a couple of acres going on and everything in between. Everybody's growing something these days. And a lot of people with legalization in Canada, as well as multiple individual states, lots are growing pot for sure.
Definitely. Well, I never gave enough respect to the vegetable growers, because I've been trying vegetables out back. Like, I can build good soil and healthy soil, but I can't grow very good vegetables. That's some skill. My hat's off to the vegetable growers there out there.
It's a different world in the world of
is.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I mean, cannabis growing, I think it gets overcomplicated by far too many people. We called it weed for a reason, because it's a weed. Sometimes tending too much is the problem.
Yeah, that's there's a saying there, don't be a moron. Don't put more on.
That's right. That's right.
Less is more.
Yeah, absolutely. Big push these days for the regenerative, right, though, and the organic soil. I mean, we went through a time in the early 2000s where there was a lot of chemical nutrients being pushed out there, grow bigger buds, here's this stuff, you put this stuff and you're going to have massive buds. But the problem with all of that is it's the flavor. You taste these chemicals because we're
right. That's the thing. And not just the flavor, but after I started growing my own, I could smoke big bong hits again. My lungs started to be healthier. Like, the organic flower is just so much smoother. Like, the terpenes are a huge plus, but like the health benefits are like through the roof, I think.
Well, I know you like bat guano, obviously, but have you experimented with, or do you also include any biochar in your soils?
I've got biochar in this batch of worm castings that I just made, but I haven't used bat guano in a long time because it's not sustainable out of my ecosystem. So I've been deleting anything that I have to purchase. I've got a whole shelf over here full of amendments and things that I don't even use anymore because I just make shit out of the backyard now. I don't know if you've heard of Korean natural farming.
Yeah.
Or how about Jadam?
No. I've heard the
so
word, but I don't know a lot about it. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't know a lot about it. Korean natural farming I have heard of, and I looked into it, but and I've been told about the jodong, but I don't know enough about it.
Well, I'll break down the Korean natural farming, or KNF for short, for anybody else listening. But it's basically a method of home fermentation with sugar. You use brown sugar in equal parts to plant material, and there's an osmosis effect that pulls out the liquids from the solids, and then you strain that out, and it's like a plant available nutrients. So there's all kinds of different nutrients that go along with this to make a feeding regimen, but the main part of Korean natural farming is how you build the soil. And what you're supposed to do is have a box of al dente cooked rice, and you bring this box out to the forest, and it's got holes in the bottom. So you bury this in the duff, and the microbes grow up into it and colonize it, and you bring this home. So you have a nice white mat of mycelium, and then you mix this equal parts with brown sugar, and that becomes a shelf-stable product. It's an inoculum. So you use that to inoculate a pile of grains. So now you cook your grains. It's like fancy compost. Now you got to have a composting thermometer, and you keep this below 140 degrees Fahrenheit, or you're going to start cooking the microbes. So you got to start turning it. So after you have this pile and it's fully inoculated, full of mycelium, you mix that into your native soil at a 50 ratio, 50 ratio. So that's like the base soil. So you're incorporating all these native microorganisms into your gardening ecosystem, and then there's also a feeding regimen that can go along with it.
Yeah. And it's supposed to do wonders as well for pest control.
There are some I don't know. I've been leaning more towards the Jadam lately, because their pest control seems to be a little bit more. They're more of like a suffocant oil system that you can add things to. They're kind of different recipes, but the Jadam is the creator of KNF. I think his name is Master Cho, and his son, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, is the one that created Jadam. And Jadam is more of an anaerobic putrefaction. So you can take all kinds of leaf matter. I like to use stinging nettles because it's high in silica. Lots of my cannabis waste goes back into it. So basically it's just a big barrel of water, and you put a little bit of this healthy soil in there to start it off. Then you just keep adding organic material in there. I like to use aloe vera for the salicylic acid. So I make this barrel and it just rots. And at the end of the summer, it's liquid gold. If you got a yellow plant, you pour that in the cup there and it's green again in no time. You can make the leaves curl backwards and burn, and it's amazing. And you can just make that over the summer. No, it's easy. Like you just throw shit in there, and then at the end of the summer, it's done.
Yeah,
the best.
And that's what I love about what you're doing. I mean, I wanna back up the bus a little bit and go back to what you touched on there, that you're self-sustaining to the point where you're not buying any of the items, the nutrients, none of the ingredients in your regenerative soil or in your nutrient kits that you're using are store-bought. You're making everything from scratch. You're talking about harvesting some worm castings. So obviously you have worms. In order to get worm castings, right? We're talking about worm shit here.
So
I mean, which is awesome.
Like composting is compost is some of the best stuff you can put in your garden. But being up north, you can't really compost all year long. But everybody can have a worm bin.
Yeah.
You know, like and feeding your worm bin vegetable scraps and table scraps is not the way to do it. It's gonna get anaerobic. It's mostly water weight, and it's gonna turn into this putrefied, smelly. That's not the way you want to feed your worm bin. Kind of a dry consistency, so it doesn't turn into slop. So lots of grains, dry grains are good. Like a little bit of vegetable scraps isn't too bad. Melons are really good. You put a half a melon down on the face of the soil, and all the worms will come up and they'll make a big ball. They'll gum together there, and then they'll start to breed. that's a good trick too.
Oh, that's a good one right there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to mention that one to my partner.
Yeah. Steveo does another show on they're not on our network. It's a completely separate podcast that he does with a gentleman named Waylon Maccabee, and he does a show called Waylon the Indoor Gardener, and he's novice that's walking his audience through learning with him about different methods of growing indoors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I think that would be a good trick because he's got a worm bin, and it's exactly like you said. Putting in the scraps and stuff, and it turns into just a stinky ball of mess. And we're gonna try that melon ball trick, and I'll get back to you on that. That's great.
Yeah.
Another thing, I just recently did last night because I've been harvested my bin, but what I did is I took the lid of the tote, I put it underneath, filled it with sand, and then I drilled holes in the bottom of the tote and put a layer of sand. So then if it does get a little bit too wet, at least it has a place to go. Because like I used to rock a wooden bin, but eventually they start to rot. But the wooden bin breathes, so I had better success. But in plastic, it's a lot easier to make an anaerobic, stinky, sloppy mess. So you got to be kind of mindful of how
it's airtight, right?
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't evaporate either out of like it's.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. I don't have the indoor space to do any of these kinds of things, so I've got zero experience with the indoor. I mean, we have several bins outside that are composting, but I mean, we don't. There's no opportunity to really compost here, like up to 6 months a year. I mean, I'm still out there in the winter trekking across the field and dumping stuff into the compost bin on top of a mountain of freaking snow, and then in the spring it's all going to melt down and be in there. But it's not actually composting over the winter months, right? So it's getting fed, but it's not composting.
Yeah, I save little piles all over there. I got one just right out front my door. When I make hash there, I dump all the weed there, and contaminated grain spawn goes in this little pile, and then I'll shovel it all up and bring it out to the backyard after.
Very cool. You know what? We used to do that way back when in the day. Pre-legalization, when we were sort of guerrilla growing back in the day, living in a different jurisdiction at that time down in southern Ontario. But we just a quick little story. You said that about dumping piles. We were making shatter, so we were blasting through tubes, and we were blasting tubes, and we were making shatter back in the day when shatter first came out. And the blasting tubes that we were using, my partner was on the front porch in the winter, and he would go out in the front porch and blast outside, and then he would take the lid off the tube and he would bang it on the outside of the porch, and it would fall on the ground into the snow beside the porch onto the ground. Well, come spring, I guess some of them blasting tubes had some seeds in them. And come spring, don't we have these 4 monster fucking cannabis plants spread out right beside the front deck on the stairs?
I love the volunteers, eh?
Yep.
So when you're getting rid of waste product from processing cannabis, there's a chance you wind up with plants in your waste pile.
Oh yeah, I find them all over my yard. They're fucking everywhere. Oh yeah, I had a pile out there with about 12 of them there before, right in the front.
It's like, oh, can I dig you up and transplant you somewhere more appropriate?
I'm like, those ones don't count. I didn't plant them.
Yeah, they're not. They grew wild. I mean, they're natural. Yeah. They're part of nature.
I don't know what that means.
Oh yeah, actually, that's where this little ball of hash came from. There, I had one that came up out of my compost pile, so I made this out of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice indeed. I'm a very big hash fan indeed, and big fat hash fan. So you're using your own regenerative soil, and you're using that to grow your own cannabis plants, because of course we are legal here now. We're allowed to grow 4 plants per household. Are you growing only indoor, or are you using your regenerative soil outdoor as well?
Outdoor as well. That IMO4 soil I was telling you about, I made a bunch of that, and I got like 2 beds that I grow in outdoors. I'm actually breeding a hash plant for our zone right now. I could actually I could probably take you over to the flower room.
Absolutely, that would be very cool. Yeah, that would be very cool. Do you want this in there? There we go. Let's
just gotta mute the other one. Yeah.
Poor Gus, he's not used to chilling out.
Hey, what's up, Pop?
So here's my space anyway.
Turn your camera sideways.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Perfect.
So I got a dirty old fish tank here. This green slime in here. It's aquatic microorganisms. And if you check out, I got a little short on my YouTube and on my Instagram. But if you check that under the microscope, there's all kinds of nematodes and protozoa, and there's all kinds of stuff living in there. So that's a good soil additive as well. So you can bubble that up with a little bit of molasses in a 5-gallon bucket for 24 hours till it smells a little bit sweet. That's aquatic microorganism tea. You can even just clean this out and save all this water, and you put that in your beds. So I got like my little wash basin here. There, I'll just move my 5-gallon bucket and I'll capture everything as I clean that. It's a good little trick.
Yeah. Save the water coming down the drain. It's not going down the drain.
Plants will love it because there's different genes that are turned on and off by different forms of microbiology. So if you don't have the microbiology in the soil, you're not going to get the plant's fullest expression. So adding the biggest diversity of microbiology you can is going to be most beneficial for your plant.
Very cool.
So I like to veg in these little 4-inch square pots.
Yeah.
And then I put a little bit of sand in the bottom. They'll root into the bottom a bit. It just helps me keep them in a smaller container a little bit longer because they'll start to get unhealthy in a small volume of soil quite quick.
Yeah.
So it just helps me cheat a little bit so I don't have to do any transplanting. But, here's all my amendments that I barely use anymore. All kinds of shit here. Rock dust and microbes and this and that. Here's a bag of castings, and there's just all kinds of shit I barely ever... Because once you get your soil healthy, if you don't let it dry out, it just stays healthy, and you pretty much... It just keeps on trucking.
Yeah, and that's the ticket, right? Is to not let it dry out. You've got to keep it wet.
Yeah, like it's got to dry back a little bit, but it can't turn into dust.
Right.
Because then the microbes go dormant. And when the microbes go dormant, your plant is not eating. So now you're behind, and then it takes a couple weeks for the plant to catch up and the microbes to catch up, and then you can't really catch up. Now your plant is going to suffer. So putting your plant out in the middle of the yard where it dries out and it's getting pounded with all kinds of light, it's a chemical reaction that's way out of balance. It's getting way too much light and not enough food, so it's going to turn yellow immediately.
Right. Yeah, and that's what a lot of the growers out there will say. Oh, I don't know what's wrong with my plant. It's like nutrient deficient.
Gus just loves the cover crop here.
Yeah.
Well, what is that? Some
munchin, cover crop, and that also serves its purpose to keep the soil healthy.
Yeah, the roots put out exudates, which feed microbiology. So different plants will put out different root exudates, which feed different microbiology, which also helps with the diversity thing. It also gives, once they live and die, it gives the worms, because there's worms in here. They'll travel down those little passages and eat those little holes. So now the water will trickle in and infiltrate the system. They'll also store water, so when it dries back quite a bit, everything is still alive because there's so much moisture still in the system. It just provides so many different benefits.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm just munching out on the cover crop.
So here's this is the hash plant. that I'm breeding. I call it the inbred hick. This is an F2 for an F3. I'm finishing it on 18 hours of light. So it's I heard from a breeder, Ross or Jeff, that you get bigger seeds if you finish your seed plants on 18 hours of light.
Yeah.
So doing that gave me an advantage. I could move my smaller plants in a little bit faster. So, and it's also going to re-veg this. It'll give me an extra chance to grab another clone. So what I do is I leave a little branch down at the bottom here in case my clones don't work, that I can re-veg. Because I plant directly, I bury the 4-inch pots in here. So there's going to be a period after I rip them out of the sand, they're going to starve. So that's why these ones are looking a little small and hurt, and they never bit into the living soil yet. So you can see these ones here, they've rooted through their little 4-inch cup and bit into the soil, so they're able to access the nutrients.
Right, and look at the difference in those two plants from access.
Yeah, you can see these two. Yeah, they're behind.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing.
So this is breeding this for our zone 3A up here, so it should finish in September.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what I did,
anything that finishes late September, early October, that's the ticket up here. I've harvested some northern lights up here, end of October, beginning of November, like dust, like pulling snow off of them.
Right? It's a scary feeling because, like, I'd rather have a little bit of good weed than a whole bunch of weed I can't do nothing with.
Right?
Yeah.
It gets fucking scary sometimes up here, right?
And it's like, it's not even like, you can't even make hash out of every plant. Some plants don't wash. Some plants don't make hash. You just end up with a pile of shit and you throw it into garbage after. Yeah. So, you know, like, having the right genetics is really important there. So hopefully there I'll be able to give some of these out to some of the community. They can grow some good weed anyways.
Oh, yeah, man. That'd be awesome to be able to grow a nice hash plant outdoor and have it finish.
Yeah. So this is because I had a purple kush and a California orange, and they were two plants that finished here. And the seeds, they came from like an 80s bag seed. So these were old seeds. I had a big handful, and I only got 11 to crack. Only the green ones were able to crack because the darker ones, the helmet wouldn't split. And the ones that did split, it didn't have the energy to break it off. So I only got 11 and ended up reading one to that California orange. So I checked out the F2s outdoors around here and seen kind of what they look like. So I kind of selected kind of for what I thought they might look like. It's hard to tell the phenotypical expression to compare this environment to that outdoor environment and try to pick out the similar plants. But try a seed cracker. Actually, I just put them in my mouth and crack them with my teeth. You just put it with the seam, and my fingers are too clumsy to fuck with a seed cracker.
Mm-hmm.
But so what I did to reselect for outdoors in my indoor environment is I set my timer to 15 hours, 45 minutes. And then over the course of 17 days, I knocked 15 minutes off until I got to 13 hours. And then the ones that didn't show me they were early triggers, they deleted. Gone 50 plants, 35 got killed that day.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
So
I do a single branch for show and tell.
Okay.
Bag a branch. Yeah, I literally put a brown paper bag over top of one of the lower branches, leave it for 2-3 days. She'll show herself.
Yeah. That's genius. Fuck. Yeah. I love it.
Old school, darling. Old school.
That's awesome. Oh, I love it.
So explain the advantage of doing that for the
then
audience.
You know if it's a male or a female before you spend any time, money, and work on them. You're having them reveal their sex. So if you put a brown paper bag over one of the lower insignificant branches that's going to get clipped anyway over time, then that puts that branch in the dark. it will start to turn. It will want to go into flower. So she will either grow hair, or if it's a boy, it will reveal its balls.
Yeah, that's gold. That's a gold nugget. I love that.
Yeah.
Just eat your bone.
So yeah, just a brown paper bag, and just gently tie it off with a piece of string at the base of the bag, leaving room for the leaves to have plenty of room to be stretched out still. Within 3 days, she will the plant will show its genetics or its gender. There you go.
So here's a couple of the males that I pulled up out of there. So I just kind of cut the most of it off to match what kind of whatever root zone I figure I was going to get there. And I just kind of rip it right out of the bed and bring it over here, and away we go. I've done that out in the field too. I've taken a whole plant in flower and ripped it out and brought it here and planted it back in that KNF soil. And then I bred with it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That KNF soil, it's really, if you got real healthy soil there, it's not so detrimental there if you can get a good root ball. But planting in those little containers and letting them root through there, you can actually move some shit around if you have to. So now I just take everything, throw it in there, pick the males, and
gives you a little bit more control, and it gives you a longer time before you have to transplant and move stuff around. That's awesome. So is this your worm castings?
This is just a little mushroom tent there.
Awesome.
Just a little thing to keep the place clean. The worm castings. This is actually the worm bed here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's the tray I was saying that I filled with a little bit of sand, and then I did the holes and put a little bit more sand on top. So it's like if you've ever heard of the horizontal soil system, it's kind of like imitating like the Mother Nature, where there's like a rocky bottom layer, like in E, and then it's like a little bit sandier, and then you get like a soil sand mix, and then it's only organic matter sort of kind of thing there. So it's kind of the idea that it provides a lot of drainage.
We do that on our vegetable bed out here because we have a clay base.
Okay.
So we do that on our vegetable gardens out here in the ground. We'll add a layer of gravel, fine gravel.
So here's some of that JLF there. I funneled it in here before it froze. I make it out back in the garbage can, and then this here is fermented hash water. So I save some of my water after I make hash, and you just let it sit, and it'll turn all stank, and it smells like cow shit, but it's really good nutrients if you can stomach this stuff there, like it's the way to go. You really got to wash your hands 4 times after you get it on your skin there. But it's so easy to make, and it's so good for the plants. I've never had anything where I can just, like, you take like 2 liters of that for a 5-gallon bucket, and then you just put just a little bit of, just a squirt, and then the leaves are like eerie. Like there's a lot of nutrients in there. You got to take it easy with it. So there's the worm castings that I just harvested out of that bin last night.
Wow.
So that's the black gold.
Good shit, man. Like literally, that is some good shit. Some of the best weed I ever grew. I had worm castings mixed into the soil and then sprinkled on top as a nutrient at the halfway point, along with the tea that I make. And man, some of the best plants I grew was worm castings.
It really is the best. Like, it's everywhere. So I got all my old mushroom substrate in here, and all my old cannabis stalks and sticks, and everything that comes off these plants either goes back into the bed or in this worm bed or in the compost out back. Nothing ever goes in the garbage. It's fucking zero waste.
Zero waste.
That's even great. When I make my petri dishes for the mushroom stuff there, you got to boil grains, and I'll use the grain water. I'll save the grain water and mix that with agar to make the petri dishes.
Nice.
And whatever don't go in there, go back into the JLF.
That is so freaking cool. That
is
cool. I'm bringing us back to 3 Screen. Thank you so much for the tour. We really appreciate that. That was awesome. I got questions. I got so many questions. We're inviting audience participation questions as well. Do you have questions for TyGuy GrowsHigh? I know I do after that tour. Let's find out all those answers and so much more. But first, medication time.
Right. It is break time. While we take a few minutes to hear about a few of the other shows here in our lineup at the NOK Network. So come right back.
Absolutely. Stay tuned. We'll be back in about 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Hang in
Yeehaw! NOK Network presents Ganja News Update. Join joint host Christine Terra, Michelle Parada, as they bring you their global cannabis news update. Catch the Ganja News Reporters Weekly on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time as they cover cannabis news from around the globe in this 60-minute video news podcast. Stay up to date with Ganja News Update, Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern on NOK Network. Follow and subscribe to NOK Network on our webpage, social media, and streaming sites, including Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble.
Are you a Northern Ontario resident? Searching for credible information on cannabis as a medicine? No Sir is here to help. Established in 2013, Northern Ontario Cannabis Education and Resources is here for you. No Sir Director Kim Cooper brings you 45 plus years experience utilizing cannabis as a medicine and is spreading the education across the North. Activism, resources, referrals, and more at No Sir. Don't be a jackass. Say no sir to cannabis propaganda with No Sir. Find us at www.nocer.ca. Advertising space available at NOK. Contact us for a rate sheet at NOKNetwork.com. Send us a message on our social media platforms or email us at info@NOKNetwork.com.
Open your eyes.
Join us on Psychedelic Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Open Your Eye. Our 60-minute video podcast with hosts Kim Cooper and Tara Simpson. Joint hosts sit down with patients, facilitators, lawyers, and others in the space to discuss their experiences and endeavors working with psychedelic medicine. Tune in weekly to Open Your Eye at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for all your news and information from the realm of psychedelic medicine here on NOK Network. Follow and subscribe to the NOK Network on our webpage, social media, and streaming sites, including YouTube and Rumble.
Join us for NOK Network monthly specials, 12 months a year. Movie nights. Spotlight on entertainment. And live on location event coverage. Stay Stay up to date about upcoming programming by subscribing to NOK Network on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Rumble. Check out our webpage at www.noknetwork.com.
Now we get back to the regular program. Yeah.
And we are back from our medication session here on Peace News and Views.
Hope you'll tune into one of the many other podcasts that were highlighted during the break. They're produced and aired here on the NOK Network. Many thanks to our sponsors, the Stoner Games and No Sir, for supporting us here at the NOK Network as well. Interesting dude, right?
Oh, absolutely. And with some really good information as well. I know that organic gardening is something that I'm just beginning to do.
Yeah.
And, you know,
you and a lot of people.
Yeah. And I'm buying or, you know, getting my ingredients and now to grow organically. However, I am starting to learn, especially through a lot of information from Ty, that I don't need to do that.
That's right. I mean, how much of this stuff that we automatically discard, we're throwing it down the drain, we're throwing it in the garbages, we're throwing it in compost bins if we have it. And it's actually like, hey, we could just put this on our plants.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Right? You know, it does take more work to do it this way, obviously, but the results are worth it, obviously. I like the way he had his garden set up. We could see 3 different stages. We saw brand new stage. We saw it planted but not yet rooted into the medium, and then we saw the results of the medium, and we got to see that all together, and that was a really good comparison. I felt like.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Let's find out more. Time to bring them back in. Ty, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back, Ty.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is so cool. I mean, we could go on and on and on about this forever as far as I'm concerned. I am so into the regenerative gardening and
I could come back. We could do this again.
Yeah, no problem. We're gonna have you back. You're gonna.
I didn't even show you guys the hash side of the room yet.
Yeah, you're gonna wind up being a fucking regular around here, I think.
Yeah. I'll come back. I'll be back.
Absolutely. You know, I think it's fantastic that you're showing people how to do this. You do have a YouTube channel where you're teaching people, which is epic. But one of the first questions I have is, are you making like a soil that you could bag and sell?
I thought about it, but like the place that I have where I mix it, there's this plant. I don't know what it is, but it's so invasive. It just gets in everything. So I can't really be selling soil that, and yeah, like it's crossed my mind, but I'm not really set up for it right now. But it's definitely in the back of my mind. Thought about getting a little mini X there, and you know,
like a work in progress type of thing. You just haven't gotten it to where you want it yet.
Yeah, definitely interested in doing stuff with microbes and genetics. It's kind of where my passion lies there right now in regenerative. So making either compost or soil or
There was a guy down in Liskeard, Radley Hill, and he was doing the worm compost and the worm casting and stuff and that. And I mean, originally I made purchases from there as well, and you know, I got great results with the worm castings. That's where I first got turned on to the worm castings, and this was like a decade ago. That avenue seemed to dry up. So I think there's a resource for this. Like, I mean, people even just on the worm castings end.
I think there might have even been a lady in town here that might be doing it as well. There, I'm gonna have to look into that. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but when I remember, I'll tell you there.
Yeah.
But shit, anybody can do this. You know, it's like if you feed it right, it doesn't smell, so you can keep it, you know, like your laundry room or wherever, right? Like, I guess if you're not really growing, if you're growing 4 plants there, I'd say you're gonna want to look into it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't smell if you feed it properly.
And 4 plants. I mean, let's face it. We're Canadian gardeners, whether it's indoor or outdoor. We can grow some monster plants. You know, I mean, they can be small fucking trees, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You need a lot of
my indoor record right now is 14 ounces there. So
yeah, you know, you need a lot of soil for that kind of thing.
I don't grow big plants no more. They're a pain in the ass. I like little ones now. Much easier to.
I'm strictly outdoor.
Yeah.
So I try to get mine as big as fucking possible.
It's overwhelming to have a huge plant to dismantle and then trim, and then it's like I got kids and shit, and it's like I can't just be out here playing with my weed all the time. There, I get in trouble for that. So a little plant there, it's not so intimidating, and you hack her down. That's why I like fresh frozen hash. There, a lot of the cultivars that I like to run, I take the tops and dry the tops, and the rest of it's gonna go right into the freezer wet, and then I just make hash out of it.
Yeah,
that's just,
my first harvest, I went crazy and had like 17 plants, and after trimming that, I have yet to have another harvest with more than 4 plants.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, once you hate trimming, you fucking hate trimming there, and that's like it's hard to get over that. I never got over it after.
Friends stop answering their phones when they see your number, right?
I like growing. I don't like fucking trimming.
Nobody does. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've been there where, you know, friends are like, oh, it's Kim, don't answer it. She's going to ask you to come and trim, man. My fingers, my friends are leaving my house and they're like, I can't move my fingers, man, because they were on the scissors for so many hours, right? Everybody's walking around with claws. It's daunting processing all of that when you do have a good harvest, right?
That's the beauty of fresh frozen there. You get those real nice colas that everybody likes trimming there, and the rest of that shit there, I just buck off the fucking gone right into the freezer bag.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of live resin as well.
Yeah, I got some nice live rosin here. There, I got a rosin press in the next room.
Oh, look at both of you with the jars out. Look at that.
Holy, that tripped me right out. I thought I was on the same screen there for a second. There,
two of them. We got trouble. Everybody got their jars out. Sweet.
Shout out.
Yeah, everybody got the rosin going on. I don't have my jar handy, so I got nothing to show. But yeah, I'm a big fan. The extracts, of course, you mentioned hash several times. Hash, the original extract, right?
Oh yeah.
Look at my son did. My son just brought me this because he's like, oh well, you can't be outdone here, Mom.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Have you seen the videos of the that looks really good. Have you seen the videos of in Jamaica? They'll take the plant and just while it's in the ground and it's flowering, they'll run their hands up and down the plant real quick, leave the buds on there, and then they'll just go like this with their hands and they'll just rub hash right off of their hands. The glands, just whatever stuck to their hands, and then it would just be finger hash, and they just, man, it would be very potent.
But like, man, you'd have to work your ass off to get like a half an ounce, I bet.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We do that too at trim time, you know, when you know you got 10 people sitting in a circle trimming plants, and you eventually you clean your hands off and you're getting the finger hash, and somebody's got the scissors and they're cleaning the scissors off. You get a lot of friggin' finger hash at trim time.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, glove hash.
Yeah, I'm a big hash fan as well. As well. So you make bubble hash?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, got a garbage can over there with a valve on one side.
Oh, so something's going on with your volume again. Oh, there we go. Are we back?
Nope.
Try that again.
It's when he backs up from the phone.
Yeah.
You can hear. Yeah.
Yeah, when he backs up, the mic loses you.
Yeah, there's something with this computer there. That's
there we go. You're back. There we go. It's got you again. It got a beat on you again. Good. Yeah, I mean, you like pressing as well. I heard somebody said something about rosin.
Yeah, I got a press over there as well. So usually I like to make the hash and then I'll strain. I'll use a 159 micron filter bag, and then that's all discarded. And then there's a 73 micron that I usually keep, and then there's a 25 micron under there. And then depending on what's in there, sometimes I'll add it to a temple ball, and sometimes I'll add it to an edible jar that I'll make edibles with one day.
Right on.
So sometimes I'll take that 73 catch and then I'll squish that into rosin. So it depends. So like sometimes if you make a temple ball out of that 73 bag, it's so greasy you can't do anything with it. It's just like stuck to the bag. You can't handle it. Yeah. And it's nice to kind of put a little bit of something back into it so that you can handle the hash.
Mm-hmm. My friend Joe does that. He'll wash it once, take the first wash and then hit it with the press, and the terpenes are just off the charts at that point. I mean, the first wash, just every little trichome that broke off from the very first, man, that is some of the juiciest and best ever. Oh, you got some rosin there?
That's what this is. There's the first wash to the 73 bag of a strain called, what was it called there? Nigerian Princess.
Oh, nice.
Bred by Landrace.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, boy, look at that. Oh, he's been digging right out of the middle.
Yeah, right out the middle. I leave the edges.
Yeah. I'm a scraper. I'll do the sides first.
Me too. I do the same thing, Steve-O. I do the same thing.
Well, I didn't make it to the bottom of this one there. I went all around the surface because I left this one out and it got dark on top. So I'm trying to scrape the dark stuff off, get to the light stuff, but it just keeps turning dark.
Oh, wow.
Right on. Got some nice looking rosin there. They look good enough to enter a cup.
Yeah.
I was hoping there'd be enough in this one, but I don't know yet.
Yeah, I could see
one hasn't melted.
I see you being a great contestant in the 710 Stoner Games for that cup.
Yeah. I'm gonna have
Man, that looks really good. Really good.
This one's just fresh from the other day, so you can still see it's chunky there. But the bottom's melted. The bottom's turned into a completely different color.
Well, you really got your temperatures down well on your pressing, so you've learned a lot, I guess. And
I can make flour that's on par with hash rosin as well. I press it in a hash bag at 25 micron at the hash temperatures. Mm-hmm. Fucking turns out phenomenal.
Oh, yum.
Good.
Yeah.
Damn. It's great. That's why we always encourage, growing your own medicine whenever possible. But in order to be a guy like you that can press a bunch of rosin, dig it right out of the middle and not worry about it. And, you got to have a lot of product in order to make concentrates. And that's why, like me, where I have a 4x4 inside. So I go maximum 4 plants in that. And, usually just 5-gallon pots. And I can fill the tent up. I can scrog it out pretty good. But, I love my flowers so much that I couldn't take one plant and, turn it into, just, an eighth of rosin, to reduce it down to that. Yeah.
That's the advantage of the outdoor, because oftentimes it doesn't look that pretty anyway. So you're like, fuck it.
Yeah. Because you can wash trim and everything.
Yeah.
Some of the best hash I ever made was actually made out of some lowers and trim.
Mm. Yeah. Now Kim has her favorite strain, the black tuna. Yeah. Now, Kim, do you ever give anybody anything to make you concentrates with it, or do you just pick up your black tuna concentrate?
Me, I've got somebody that grew the crop for me, and they were turning it into the concentrates for me.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't have the time anymore to do a proper full garden that I need to last me for my year's worth of meds. So I grow what I'm allowed to grow outdoor, but most of what I grow winds up being processed into RSO. I'll keep the top colas, much the same as you. And then the majority of the meds afterwards, I process into RSO. And then I use the RSO for all of my edible and topical meds that I use.
That's
It's
some
the
RSO right
recipes.
there.
I don't know what the fuck to do with it there. I just put it in capsules and eat it, but I'm bored of that.
Yeah. I add it to everything. Yeah, I add it to just about everything. I've got a line of edibles and topicals.
So you got a good gummy recipe then.
Oh, I can hook you up with somebody that does Sarah Simpson in the house for you there.
I want to get my mom cooking it there, making some gummies there, because she's just chilling out, doing not a whole lot there. So I figure when she's bored there, I'll bring her over a batch of Fico to.
Yeah. Shout out to Corinne.
Yeah.
And, Kim also has some award-winning jam, I believe, that she makes.
Oh, yeah.
Award-winning, I must say.
Yeah. I won a couple of cannabis cups with my blueberry delight topper.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Award.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the world of being creative, you're expanding into the world of mycology. We touched on that a little bit in the first half. I want to dive into that. Because it's all about plant therapy. It's all about natural healing and natural health. Let's dive in a little bit and talk a little bit about mycology.
Well, like you said, there's plant therapy and like just the art of cultivation is therapy itself, right? So just having yourself like a hobby, something to do, get you off the couch it's really good in that sense. But also like the psilocybin molecule fits into your serotonin receptor, so it really helps with depression. So if people are, what I mean, kind of feeling down, microdosing is an option. Myself, I like a monthly macro dose there. I like to eat like a half a quarter there and just kind of relax on the couch once a month there, and it really helps. You know what I mean? I used to be kind of down working town, kind of not real happy, with what I was doing with my life there. Got young kids and working out of town and shit there, and just eating mushrooms once a month really helped me stay positive. You know what I mean? So it truly is a medicine. And even if you're using it recreational, if you don't realize it, you know what I mean? It is like laughing is medicine. So going out and having a good time with your friends, that's, you know what I mean? So however you want to look at it, but cultivation really got me intrigued. So I was already breeding cannabis, so kind of got into breeding mushrooms as well. So once I figured out that you could do this with mushrooms, obviously, like I kind of like to tinker with shit. So I figured out how you go about that, and it kind of sounds like a whole bunch of gibberish, but basically it's two single spores that hatch, and they need to cross paths for them to be able to make a mushroom. So it's kind of like parents, right? So if I take a spore from this cultivar and a spore from this cultivar and cross them together, you get a unique combination of genetics, which makes a new mushroom. So it's got to be gene specific. You can't take like a lion's mane and cross it with a Psilocybe cubensis. It just doesn't work that way. But different strains of Psilocybe cubensis can be crossed together.
Right. So, and people are unaware. I have this conversation more often than I would have thought I needed to have this conversation with people that are venturing into the realm of mycelium and mushrooms, fungi therapy overall, because there are the functional mushrooms that are wholly medicinal for you, such as lion's mane, turkey tail.
Yeah, I'm really trying to get a handle on that one.
I mean, these can all be highly beneficial for you, and there is no psychoactive effects. I like to refer to Paul Stamets and his mother. Curing her cancer was turkey tail mushroom. She didn't get high. She was eating turkey tail. not psychedelics, right? And he cured her cancer with the turkey tail. So there are medicinal aspects to the functional mushrooms as well as the psychedelic mushrooms. But in the world of psychedelic mushrooms, what most people, awesome, that is so fucking awesome. What most people don't realize is psychedelic mushrooms are very strain specific. One strain is not the same as the next. Not all psychedelic mushrooms are created equal. Some can give you a high effect and an energetic effect, almost akin to a sativa in the world of cannabis, where another mushroom can give you a sedative effect akin to an indica in the world of cannabis. They are not all created equal.
Right.
Yeah, there's different compounds. I guess there's psilocybin, psilocin, baeocystin, and then there's another one. It's escaping me. I don't really have much knowledge on it, but I think that the different ratios of these alkaloids can play a different role in your overall high. I suppose you want to say.
Yeah.
Effect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The effects are very strain specific, So I mean, what is going to happen to you on something like a golden teacher, say, and then the difference between that and a B+ is night and day.
I'll tell you what. I've never tried B+, but I know why they call it a golden teacher, because that shit makes me paranoid, and I come up with life lessons after I eat golden teachers. There, I go and do something responsible after that made me bummed out when I, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do, man.
I was having a little problem there with ignoring some phone calls for this shit there. It got to me there, and after that, I got to it. You know what I mean? It makes you look at things from a different angle, and it gets you in gear, really. Yeah, golden teachers there. They call them that for a reason, I think.
Yeah. What were you saying there, Steve-O?
Yeah, when I've experienced with different strains, and golden teachers did the same thing to me. I sat there and remembered every last thing that I've ever forgotten to do. And then it gave me anxiety because I was like, oh my God, I got to handle this and that and this and that and this. And I just couldn't get it off my brain. So it was teaching, so I get it. But I think for a lot of people, it brings a lot of clarity. And then B+, especially, now that one is very strong. And I think that is more of a body relaxation type of pain reliever for me. B+, I think, and it doesn't really get into my head all that much. What do you think?
Well, the B+ is for me. I use B+, and we had last time we did it, we had the albino B+, and that was sort of like the B+ is on acid. And which was a trip in itself. But I've only done those with macro dose, not microdose. And on a macro dose with the B+, oh yeah, like you've got melting walls, and colors make noise, and sound has a look, and you see sound and you hear color.
This one's an albino. I underestimated this the other day. This is a cross that I made. This is Avery's albino isolation of Cambodian cross to Gorilla Wizard.
Oh, fuck.
And I didn't give this the respect it deserved. It was like, oh, that's a really cool looking mushroom there. And then I went and made a 7-gram smoothie of this shit. Ooh. Oh, I went to Mars there. I was the universe, and there was nobody to report my findings to because we were all one. It was time didn't exist. There was a lot of shit going on there. It was a wild thing that happened to me there. Total breakthrough. So anyways, I did a 7-gram smoothie trying to get to this headspace with the albino Averys, and I was able to watch a podcast like this, and I comprehended it, and then I came in here and did some gardening. Well, then my following macro month there, holy fuck, did I ever go for a ride on these things there. So there's definitely different amounts of alkaloids in different mushrooms. They vary. Yeah.
Yeah, and the medicinal effects last afterwards.
Yeah.
Not the trip. To remind everybody of that necessarily. We're talking about macrodoses here.
Yeah.
Like with a microdose, you don't feel any of the of a psychoactive effect during that time whatsoever. But as well with microdosing, the effects last for days, and it can be very helpful. Yeah.
Same with a macro dose, there's reports of like a euphoric feeling or a less depression up to 6 weeks after a macro dose. So that's why I like to eat them once a month, because it's funner than shoveling that shit into little pills.
I think that, yeah, I think that Kim and I are the same in the way of the macro doses come when needed.
Yeah.
When I feel it coming on, I call it to where I'm going to run my mouth or something. I
know when it's time.
Yeah, I know when it's time to think things out with a nice macro dose. But I'm not into doing it as much. I'm just not. I was doing it so much. I think that I did it too much, and now I just kind of still feel good effects from it still to this day, and it's probably been a month since I've had it. So
yeah, well, it's long lived, right? It's long lived.
Mm-hmm.
Macrodoses and microdoses, I think, are two different avenues that can be worked in conjunction with each other, or in conjunction with other elements, or all on their own, depending on the individual. And that's the thing with natural therapy. We're all so very different. What works for me will not work for somebody else. Their path requires different tools. All of us have different systems that we're running on. Our metabolisms are very different. Our mindsets are very different. Our lifestyles are very different. Even what you ingest in your everyday life matters and makes a difference on how all of these elements are going to come into play, what's going to work and what's not going to work. And I think that's the biggest hurdle for the medical industry is it doesn't fit into their little fucking box, right? They've got to do some research and real work for every individual patient, because there is no sort of cut and paste map that they can just stick on everybody.
That's right.
And that's where they're like, oh no, what do you mean? I got to work here, for everybody? What are you talking about?
Yeah. The one thing that, the one thing that all the research shows though, is that everybody recommends that, some sessions at least should be done with a therapist. And I think that if you were to combine the two, together like that would probably be a pretty cool experience, I would think.
Yeah, the psychotherapy follow-up, depending on what you're battling, and what you're attempting to treat, and that's therein lies the rub, and that's the hurdle that we have. Criminalization of these properties is not having access to the proper tools after the fact. Psychotherapy, if we are lucky enough to have somebody in our lives where we can at least offload and talk about our experiences, somebody that's either familiar with it or at least is willing to learn and listen to you and help you work through whatever your experiences was, then you're golden. But there are those individuals out there that are embarking on these kinds of therapies and taking matters into our own hands these days because we have no choice. But there is no psychotherapy to back that up. And I don't think that you're going to get the kind of results without the psychotherapy that you would get with it. We have to unload this baggage and evaluate the trip after it happens.
Yeah, I kind of, usually I don't go on another trip unless I achieved what the mushrooms told me from the last trip. That's kind of my rule of thumb there. Like I have a whole month to kind of make whatever brought me down better for next time, kind of thing there. I don't know. I think maybe if you're, somebody older going through a life traumatic experience there, you're probably going to want somebody to talk to. But for somebody just like that wants to eat them once a month there, that's kind of a that's a thing that helps me through.
Yeah.
That's why like Kim says, there's no cookie cutter plan for each person. Each person is going to experience it. Like I played with the dosage and time in between and all that kind of stuff, to figure out that I can do it on a longer schedule, to where I think that a lot of people can very well benefit from microdoses daily. That is way better and more natural for them than this whatever it is that they're giving.
There's a lady. I forget. There's a podcast called Myco Geeky, and it's all about cultivation and therapy and things like that. And there's a pair of ladies that are together. I think the Myco Mamas, they call them. But the one was, I think, is a cancer survivor, and what it was microdosing psilocybin that it ended up curing her cancer, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. I do believe that the psilocybin also has physical healing properties. I have been microdosing and macrodosing psilocybin for about 4 years now, and using it recreationally for decades prior. I'm not shy about my use. I own up to it, and I'll tell anybody how long I've been using anything. I don't care. But 4 years steady now. With the mycelium and using various forms of psilocybin. Well, that's interesting. And, I have pancreatitis, and I have found with ingesting the mushrooms, it is benefiting my pancreatitis. My pancreas is actually healing.
Okay. No shit, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a reason they told you this shit was bad, eh?
That's right.
Because it's good.
Yeah. Exactly. What was that you just showed me?
Oh, they're just those 00 empty capsules there. So I put my mushrooms in these for microdoses once in a while there when I want to do that.
Yeah.
Or FICO. Yeah. But I found when I do lots of microdoses, it lowers, or it fucks with my macro dose. Like I don't get as high there when I.
Oh, that's right. Because you've gotten a tolerance belt now.
Yeah, like even if you eat them twice in a row, it even a couple of days. So that's why I try to keep the same days in between when I do it, so the experience is the same.
Yeah.
Then I can test out different mushrooms that I'm trying to fucking breed for these kits there, because I'm trying to keep just short ones that don't pop the lids off and stuff there. But. So
you are breeding the mushrooms, and you are you've got kits.
I do have kits.
Nice. Actually, selling spores is not illegal. It doesn't. You don't cross the line into being illegal until you propagate those spores into a medium. So the person that has the spores and then begins to grow them, that's where you've crossed over the line into illegality. So if you're selling kits with spores and your cake, then at that point in time, this is not illegal.
So it's okay to be in a jar?
Yes, as long as they haven't been added to your grow medium. So you can have your spores, you can have your grow medium, and have them both packaged in the same box. As long as they aren't together and sprouting, it's not illegal.
Okay, so I'm doing it wrong.
I don't know how you're doing it. I'm just giving you the gist on legalities, and then you can take the information from there.
Okay, well, because I got the grain already. I got the grain already colonized already. All you got to do is mix it together.
Yeah, you can sell spores, and you can sell the medium and the cake and the instructions and tell people how to put them together, and that is not illegal.
Right. Even in the U.S., same thing.
Yeah. Just a heads up.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody local stops by, I might have some colonized ones. Or...
Yeah. So, I think it's very cool. that you've branched out into all this realm for natural therapy. I love the regenerative soil and the mycology now as well coming in. I mean, that's the path that we're on here for natural therapy here in Canada and across North America, right?
Even the agar work is just therapeutic there, like, and you can do that with an oven. That's all you need. You don't need a flow hood or nothing. Fucking a pressure cooker and an oven is all you need to do mycology.
Yeah, it's not hard. You know, people seem to think that it's this rocket science, and it's not rocket science at all. The average person can do it without too much problems at all. Biggest thing with mycology is bacteria and viral infections getting in there. You must be clean when handling that shit.
Definitely.
Yeah. Or you can ruin a crop real easy. Yeah.
Got some stickers in the other day.
Oh, look at that. Northside fungi.
Northside fungi.
Very cool logo there, Mr. TyGuy.
I dig that. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Did you design that yourself as well?
No, actually, I had a local fella from Kirkland Lake design that for me.
Very cool. Very cool. An artisan
Lorraine,
I know, maybe?
Pardon me?
Any artisan that I may know?
I'll show you his business card. Tim Barak.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
Support local, eh?
More local. Plug the locals, man. Plug the locals.
Yeah. Northside Fungi and Barak. Barak Designs.
Barak Designs. Now you have your videos are on YouTube. So where you talk about everything that you're doing, the mycology as well as the regenerative soil. If people want to go and find out more about what you're doing and learn how to follow along with what you're doing, your podcasts are on this YouTube website, a nice little conglomerate of people called the Future Cannabis Project. Tell me about these guys.
Yeah, well, this is just a little community I've been involved with for a little while. They got a whole lot of information. This is where I source most of my information. So they got like a live chat. It's kind of like the same platform you got here all on StreamYard. So everybody's hanging out in the chat. There's lots of subscribers. There's so much going on. They had to get a second channel and then a third channel. And then now there's a fourth channel called Psychonauts TV for mushroom content and stuff. But yeah, it's a good group of people there. They sometimes have seed auctions for some parts of the community that are maybe hurt whatever reason, right? So good people. But yeah, I was involved with a couple of the mushroom growing ones for a bit there, and then
and then there's the FCP03. Is the third.
The one was called FCP02 Molecular Level Gardening was one of the ones I hosted there.
Okay. Awesome. That was in the first one that I was in. So that'll be in.
Yeah, there'll be one where it looks like a molecule. There is the one I hosted.
Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. So you can find this station on YouTube, Future Cannabis Project, and that's where all of Ty's.
No, that's not all my stuff there. That's just where I source my information.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
all right.
My YouTube channel is.
Okay, we'll get to that. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second for that. We are running out of time. Time has ticked away, and you're right, Steve-O. What's that I hear? I hear clucking in the background. I think there's some clucking going on. We've reached the portion of the show we like to call shout out. I'm gonna cue the chickens. Chickens in the house. Ty, this is a good opportunity for you to plug your websites, give thanks, let people know how to get in touch with you.
Okay, yeah. So my YouTube is TyGuy GrowsHigh. My Instagram is also TyGuy GrowsHigh. And then my website is northsidefungi.ca. So there's some mycology supplies on there, some spores, and some unique cultigen. So want to grow some funky looking shit there and check it out. Get some fungus in your life.
In your life, absolutely. Steve-O, final thoughts, questions.
Well, thanks for the great information on the soil amending, and you definitely are on point. And I wish you good luck in the future, man. And I hope that everything takes off great for you, bro.
Perfect. Thank you.
We'll have you on again for sure.
Definitely. We'll come back and share some more.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna have you back. There's no question about that. We're gonna have you back. You're gonna wind up becoming a regular here on Peace News and Views. Come in and talk.
Oh yeah, I'll be back.
Soil, and we'll get you over on Open Your Eye to talk more about fungi.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. We'll get you over on Open Your Eye with me and Tara. That's a sister program that we have here at the network. It's basically the same as this show with the focus on fungi and psychedelics in general.
Okay.
So yeah, we can get you on over there as well and bust open the box on the fungi. 100%. That'll be awesome. I'd like to thank you for joining us tonight here on Peace News and Views. TyGuy GrowsHigh on Instagram, a fellow Northern Ontario resident right here in my small town of Englehart, Ontario. Thank you for tuning in tonight and for sharing your information with all of us here at the network.
Thanks for having me.
I'll leave it to you, Steve-O. I don't have my notes.
Oh, in closing, we'd like to thank our guest, Ty, for joining us tonight on Peace News and Views, created for and aired on the NOK Network. And thank you to all of you, our listeners, for joining us tonight on our Cannabis Focus podcast. And thank you for tuning in, everyone. And we'll see you again next week with another very special guest, just like Ty, here on Peace News and Views. Kim?
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Peace. Have a great night. We'll be back next week.
Good night, everyone.
Let's all go into pot, whether we like it or not. Best I can tell, the world's gone to hell, and we're sure gonna miss it a lot. All the whiskey in Lynchburg, Tennessee, just couldn't fill that spot. I got $100 bill, man, you can keep your pills, man. It's all going to pot. It's all going to pot, whether we like it or not. Best I can tell, the world's gone to hell, and we're sure gonna miss it a lot. All the whiskey in Lynchburg, Tennessee, just couldn't fill the spot. I got $100 bill, man, you can keep your pills, man. It's all going to pot. I got $100 bill, man, you can keep your pills, man. It's all going to pot.